Go ahead and call this meeting to order of the Ames Parks and Recreation Committee, or Commission. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the February 20th, 2025 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion on the table from Dwayne and a second from Jeff. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Just having a time. All right, next item on the agenda is a public forum. This is an opportunity for members of the community to discuss items not on the agenda. I have one speaker card from Tam Lawrence. If you want to come to the podium and just,
I think it's for
I
item, I think it's for
never
item
mind.
number 8.
Oh, never mind. It is for an item on the agenda. I'm glad this is my last meeting, really phoning it in. So, okay. Is anyone else
One
here?
meeting to go.
I know, I'm cracking. All right. If no one else is here to speak on the public forum, we'll go ahead and close public forum. Next item on the agenda is a motion approving the request from Ames JCs to sponsor Ames on the Half Shell using the Bandshell Park for 5 Fridays in May and June. And to recommend City Council to approve alcohol be served at Bandshell Park during these events and to waive the payment of the $1 facility fee and $10 gross sales.
Yeah. So with this one, this is really not a lot has changed from past years. They've been doing this for a long time. A lot of them at Bandshell. They were at City Hall for a while when Bandshell was being renovated, but really no changes from the past. What the alternative one, which is what staff is recommending, is what we have done in the past. I will note that last year, the JCs were here and they had some questions or some concerns about what they were paying for rental fees and see if there was anything else that could be done. So over the wintertime, we did have conversation. Craig, Courtney, and I met with representatives from the Ames JCs, and really when we looked at it, they are already getting a pretty good discount with not having to pay the facility fee, not paying 10% on gross sales for beverage and concession sales and things. So at this point, we told them and say, when we look at what we do across the board with everybody else, we just can't justify giving you any more of a discount than what you're already getting. And then they didn't argue that point. So we did have those conversations just to follow up from last year. And so unless there's questions, staff recommends alternative one, which is what I don't think we need to read the whole thing. Sarah already kind of gave a brief overview of it. So
Keith, when you were talking, I just have one question. And
Yeah.
This came up when they were talking about the SciTown silo, that was going to be the music venue for the city. Granted, we still have the Bandshell, but has the JCs kind of this is the start of asking to maybe intimate that they're going to move, or?
I have not heard, and Craig or Courtney have not said anything about it. So I'm going to guess if they are thinking about it, they have not communicated that to us. But it's something that we can have that conversation with them. I don't, well, with the amount of people that they have, Bandshell is a great venue for it. It'll look like nobody's there. If they have the same number of people at SciTown, it'll be very empty. So that's all I know at this point.
I would hate to lose this out of this venue because it's folks walk to it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But we can reach out to them and have some conversation, and I'm going to guess that I don't know if rental fees have been put out for SciTown, at this point.
they're not going to get them waived. That's
Yeah. So I think for them and the JCs, they take the proceeds from these concerts, they give them back to the community in a variety of ways. Parks and Recreation has benefited from, their generosity. So that's why, and they're good with what we're proposing. We're good with what we're proposing. So
okay. Good. Thank you. Sarah.
Well, I was contemplating, yes. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I move adoption of alternative number 1.
I second.
All right, motion is on the table to approve alternative 1 for the Ames on the Half Shell event this summer. Is there any discussion? All in favor of alternative 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Okay, next item on the table is a motion recommending City Council to approve the naming rights of the mini pitch project at Lloyd Kurtz Park.
yeah, so back in November when we were taking the mini pitch information to City Council and trying to get plans and specs approved and awarding contracts, Council did direct staff to see what we could do to solicit additional money through donations, sponsorships, whatever it might be. So we didn't do it right away because at the November meeting of last year, we weren't sure that Council, based on some of the comments that they made, if there were going to be enough votes to even approve the project and award the contracts. So they did do that in December. And then what we did, Courtney, she put together some information. We sent it out to businesses, and what we did is we had different areas, and these were all shown in the commission action form. Naming rights for $50,000, banner sponsor for $5,000, bench sponsor for $1,500, and then there were just 4 different levels of donations. So we sent this out to a number of businesses. We did get 3 businesses: Central State Bank, Drain Tech, and Greater Iowa Credit Union, that came back and committed to sponsoring a bench for $1,500. So that adds $4,500 to our funding sources. And that was really what Council wanted to do, is could we reduce the city's commitment financially and then potentially use money for other things. So we also did, as stated in the commission action form, Kurt and Cindy Friedrich. Kurt is the owner of Friedrich Realty, and they saw this opportunity. They really liked the project and came forth and want to be the naming rights sponsor for the mini pitch. And did tell them that there is a process, and I'm not going to go through the whole process. That was attachment A, what our naming rights policy is. So with that, the long and short of this is the request is to name the mini pitch the Friedrich pitch with it. And for $50,000, now we have had and spelled that out. When the naming policy was put together, there were questions about whether or not we should set a percentage of the total project, if it's a case-by-case basis. So there was a lot of discussion, and some of you were involved with that. So what we did is we wound up, City Council eventually adopted the policy and really wanted a case-by-case with it. So in this situation, with most recently Tahira and Lobhira Park, they gave a $40,000 donation, to the park, and that park is named for $40,000. This amenity, which is what we call a major feature, could be, the mini pitch, could be pickleball courts, tennis courts, ball field, kind of falls into that category. So this is $50,000. When you break it out by a percentage, it's about, I think, 14% is what we had in the commission action form. But with it, staff, really staff's recommendation is alternative one. We think it fits with our policy as far as a cash donation or a major donation to the project. Friedrich, the family, the Friedrich Realty, reputable company, outstanding citizens, nothing negative that we have been able to find talking with people. So a very positive experience. Their daughters grew up playing soccer in Ames. So we just think it's a win-win all the way around. So our recommendation is approve alternative one, which be to recommend to City Council to name the mini pitch the Friedrich pitch. And again, just as a reminder, the policy, I make a recommendation as director to the commission. The commission makes a recommendation to City Council, and then City Council has the final approval of this. So with that, any questions?
Okay. If there's no questions for Keith, I would take a motion.
I move to approve number 1.
Second.
All right, motion is on the table to recommend City Council consider naming this major feature the Friedrich pitch. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor of moving alternative 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is a motion approving the youth volleyball camp agreement with Ames High School volleyball program for the calendar year 2025.
Yeah, so again, this is one that we bring annually to the Parks and Recreation Commission. We've worked with for a number of years with the Ames High School volleyball program. Their coach runs the program, gets other individuals involved with it. We do it for 3rd through 6th grade. They do a spring camp, and this year it'll be April, May, and into June. And then they also do a sand volleyball camp, which will be June and July for this year. Really no changes to the agreement from the past. There is a revenue split where 70% goes to the Ames High School volleyball, 30% comes to us. This is very much in line with a lot of our other agreements where people have the expertise. We have the means to register people, to promote, to get the word out, and it's just another win-win situation between the two organizations. And when we work together, we usually wind up reaching more people, and it winds up being a better situation than if one of us was doing it by ourselves. So with this one, again, staff recommends alternative 1, which would be to approve the attached agreement, and Ames High School volleyball agrees with everything in that agreement as well.
All right, any questions for Keith, or would someone care to make a motion?
I make a motion to recommend option 1.
Second.
All right, motion is on the table to approve alternative 1, which is to approve the youth volleyball camp agreement with Ames High School volleyball. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is an update on the potential micro mobility ordinance from City Council.
Yeah, so we've got some slides, and I'll kind of go through this a little bit, but just to preface, the conversation. So this is something that City Council has been talking about for a while and for several years, really, because we have had groups that have come in and wanted to rent scooters, put them on campus, put them in the city, the downtown area, places where people would use them. But we didn't have an ordinance. We have some ordinances that relate to bicycles and scooters. We have some things with the skate park within the parks, and I'll go through some of that. But really, when during the conversation with council, when they went through this, and this was at their March 11th meeting, so council was looking at initially maybe doing just a blanket recommendations, so really the whole idea was to get feedback from council and then come back with any ordinance changes related to micromobility. So through that conversation, they were looking to maybe do something that would encompass everything. And there was, some of the members from council had some concerns in regards to parks and used Ada Hayden as an example where, hey, there's, safety issues with the e-bikes, with the scooters, with people going too fast, and everything. So what they wound up doing is what they did is they did make some recommendations to be included in the ordinance for everything but the parks. What they did is we did mention to them that the Parks and Recreation Commission has directed staff to look at park rules and ordinances, and we're in that process right now. So what they did is they did make a motion and did approve it to refer to the Parks and Recreation Commission, or directed the commission to include this micromobility conversation in any rule and ordinances changes that that we'll have. So really what they did is they took that park side out and said, let's give it to the commission and have that conversation. So I just wanted to kind of preface this. So when I go through some of these slides, you'll see that there are some things that talk about on the streets, sidewalks, and so on. Again, that council is going to make that decision, but anything within the parks will be with this. So I'll give you this, go through these slides, but then we'll kind of morph into item number 8 and talk a little bit more about, the park rules and ordinances. So with that said, one of the things is, with e-bikes, there's the state already has a classification, and this is something that we have seen. We've looked at, Josh and I have looked at this before as well, for within the parks, but there are 3 different classes. And, class 1, maximum speed 20 miles an hour, only pedal assist. Class 2, both pedal assist and throttle. And then class 3, 28 miles an hour, pedal assist and throttle. So looking at, a lot of them do have those little components down at the bottom, equal to or less than 750 watts or 1 horsepower. And then, minimum age of 16 required to use a class 3. Now, one of I thought one of the interesting things, so Ron, and I don't remember what Ron's last name is, but he's the owner of Skunk River Cycles. So he was at this meeting, and they asked, the council asked him, he got up and spoke, and council asked him, it's like, so what do you think about the speed? And he said there's a real difference, because he goes, I get a lot of people that come in and will ask the question, how fast does this thing go? And it's really what I talk to them about. It's not how fast this can go, it's how fast should you go? And it was one of the things that he mentioned. He said, so people, they'll do is I'll say, it can go 20 miles an hour, but you shouldn't go more than 12 when you're riding this. Because council did ask me later in that meeting what I thought, and I said, we've had this conversation before. So within the parks, we're thinking maybe 10 miles an hour for speed limit, especially in certain places. Minneapolis Park Board, on their trails, they have, 10 miles an hour. And others go 20. Some I think Golden State Bridge Park, they ratchet it down to 5 miles an hour in certain areas, which is really slow. And that's one of the things, is 10 too slow? Maybe it should be 15, but one of the things is maybe it's 10 and people will push the envelope a little bit and maybe they will go 12 or 13. If you go 15, will they go 17 or 18? And is that potential for collisions and safety issues? Is that a lot higher? I did not share some of the feedback that we got. Tam is in the audience. She'll come up and speak when we get to item 8. She sent me an email, but one person sent me an email and said, just ban e-bikes altogether out at Ada Hayden. But this is the thing, we're going to get people on both ends. But what I told council is safety is really what we have to look at. And we've talked about some other things with it. But micromobility, it can have varying definitions, e-scooters, biking, shared business, what I mentioned earlier. The Des Moines, what they use is they define it as a personal transportation device. So that's not necessarily micromobility. Again, micromobility sometimes goes to those people that want to rent scooters. They do it as a business. So you can see what the definition of that is. So these are some things that whether it's within the parks or whether it's on the streets or on sidewalks and so on, some of these definitions will cover both with it. So we currently do have, ordinance chapter 4 does talk about bicycles, but right now it doesn't address those personal transportation devices. And there's, you've seen them, the e-bikes, the scooters, the e-scooters, the one wheel, and you've got the, even the skateboards, with the electric batteries and so on, with it. So it does not address that. And really we do need to update chapter 4 to include these devices. Okay. So with an ordinance, and these are just some questions that were posed. The first question was asked a little differently, but for this purpose, should bicycles and personal transportation devices be allowed in the parks? That's something that we're going to need to address. And whatever we choose to do, we'll need to have some justification when we go back to city council. And I should also mention, when we're looking at this again, we have rules and we have ordinances. Ordinances can be enforced by police, and there's some type of fine, associated, with that. Park rules, what we do is we have them. A lot of people follow the park rules, but there's no enforcement unless somebody is repeatedly doing something and they've been asked to stop and they don't. Then we can call the police and do something with that. And then should there be speed limits? If so, where? What should they be? And should exceptions be allowed? So these are questions that we'll be looking for feedback, from the commission and from the public. So we do have a meeting. We have 2 meetings scheduled for next week. One is Tuesday night, 6:00 here in the council chambers. And with that meeting is going to be, what we're going to educate the community on is the Ada Hayden Trail project. And I think we'll probably at that meeting, we'll get some things that will probably relate to the park rules and ordinances. So then on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock here in the council chambers, we have public input session on rules and ordinances, park rules and ordinances, and we'll start getting some feedback and we will pose some questions, some of these same kind of questions. Now, the one thing that commission is going to be faced with, which you've been faced with before, is sometimes with these meetings, one group dominates the meeting. We might get a lot of people that don't enforce anything. Let us just do our own thing. So you get that side, and then you might get the other side that says ban all e-bikes, ban all e-scooters. So you could wind up with one of those. Is that reflective of the entire community? I would be the first to say no. But we are looking at doing a survey that will get out to people in a number of different ways as well, so we can try to get a more, representative response, from the community. So those are two meetings that are happening, next week. So, where to allow. So did talk, the typically allowed on multi-use paths, sidewalks, roadways, motor vehicle laws, reply restrictions, usually downtown areas or pedestrian heavy districts. We do have within the parks, there are some areas that bicycles are not allowed. The Audubon Trail in Brookside, Munn Woods, East River Valley. I think those are the three. I think those are the three. But that's something too that we'll have to take a look more so with it. And then, different preferences on when to use the roadway, sidewalks, and multi-use trails, are present as well. So we could keep the restricted areas that are already in Chapter 4, which is no riding on sidewalks downtown and campus town, no roadway use on Grand Avenue. And it sounds like that's more of a DOT issue. But the question came up, well, Grand Avenue is Highway 69, but also part of Duff Avenue is 69 and part of Lincoln Way is 69. So we don't disallow bicycles on those. So that's a question that staff will be continuing to look at. And then the Section 19 prohibits bike riding in certain parks, which I mentioned. And then, we'll I've already talked about that. And again, the question will be, are there other areas within the park system? One of the things that Joshua and I have noticed recently out at our administration office, when it was wet, it started off with one looked like a fat tire bike had gone through the park. You could see exactly where they went. A few days later, all of a sudden there were three trails, through the park. Are they going to cause a lot of damage? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on where they go. So these are just all things, and we're just sharing this with you because these are things that we will come back with a recommendation, but we are looking for, things from you. Should there be speed limits? If so, where? You can see state code sets 20 mile an hour on e-bikes only. So we'll say, city council, they did make a recommendation to staff that, again, any area other than parks, a 20 mile an hour speed limit. So on the roads and so on. So that's what they recommended that staff look at when we update the ordinance. Ames bicycle code right now says reasonable and prudent. The one thing about that, which we know is what's reasonable and prudent to me may not be reasonable and prudent to you, may not be reasonable and prudent to Tam, so that's always a tough thing when you use language like that. You can see Des Moines, Iowa City, careful and prudent, Ankeny, careful and prudent. That's reasonable and proper. no class 3 low-speed electric bikes allowed on sidewalks. And they have signage regarding reduced limits in certain areas, restricts going faster than 25 when riding on a roadway. Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids, you can see what they do. And then here's some non-Iowa City speed limits. Central Park in New York is 20 miles an hour. Children under 14 must wear a helmet. And cyclists are encouraged to reduce speed where there's heavy pedestrians. Golden Gate Bridge and Park, which I mentioned earlier, 15 miles an hour, slowing to 5 around the tower. And in Minneapolis, has 20 on parkways, but then public alley or park property, a speed limit should be reasonable and prudent, however, no more than 10 miles per hour. So again, just some different things that people are using. So here are some possible options. Again, this is, with some of it is looking at more of outside of the parks, with it, but there is some also within the parks. There was conversation about what do you do with some of the multi-use or the shared use paths is what we call them, shared use paths, like through Brookside, Stuart Smith, where some people may use those for commuting. And we talked about this before. Some people, parks open at 6, but they may be on those trails because they got to be to work at 6. Are those the people that we're going after? No. All right. It's again, during the heavy use, when people are out there and we have such a mix of users, how do we keep people safe? I think that's what we really need to be looking at. And then, exceptions, some do it for parades, permit process, ADA mobility devices, which we already have, some language with that. So then council did say that, yeah, there should be exceptions. Staff can come back with some other things. Again, that's outside of the parks is what they directed. So with all of this, and you can see that third bullet, commission will look at bicycle and personal transportation devices use in the park. So we'll be talking about that, and eventually that will need to go to council as well. So with that, so that's kind of what the conversation was with council. And it was probably about an hour conversation. So I really gave you kind of the shortened version. And there were a lot of material that went out with the packet, with that as well. So I don't know, anybody have any questions?
Keith, how would you even begin to enforce these ordinances?
So that's the tough thing, with it is with an ordinance. If yes, there is a fine to it, but police, I'm going to tell you right now, police are not going to go out there and be gunning people on the trails. They're not going to do it. So with some of this, with some of the staff's conversation, some of it you have to rely on people policing it themselves. So I was talking to an individual this morning, and he said, that there are some places where he has seen where, you have the line, down the middle of the path, which what we're talking about up at Ada Hayden. And he said that he has seen in those situations where somebody on a bicycle has crossed over that line, or if walkers are on their side and a biker is coming and they're not in the proper side, they will get on the biker and say, hey, you need to be over on that side. There's signs here, there's things. So some of it may be a policing that way, but the enforcement part is the difficult thing. And do we put in an ordinance that we can enforce? Now, there was a discussion about, do you put some of those speed signs, which, that tell you how fast you're going? Do Do you put some of those up in certain areas? We don't need them in all the parks. Would they be good depending on what route we go at Ada Hayden? If we allow all these, would that be a good thing? Maybe people can see how fast they're going. So it's a difficult thing, and I think everybody realizes that. Now, I did say we have some park rules that you can't have horses in the parks. Okay? People abide by it. It's not an ordinance. We'll have people ask. I had somebody asked me 2 weeks ago, "Hey, we're thinking about having a picnic in Van Shell Park. Can I bring alcohol?" And I said, "No. If you want to have a picnic with alcohol, you need to go to these parks." I said, "Thanks. That's what I needed to know." Now, so that's an ordinance, but now, do we know that people in neighborhood parks drink beer? It happens. Are we going to go after them? Are we going to try to enforce that and give out tickets? No, because that's not a huge problem. If they're having a family get together and somebody has a beer or two, that's not what we're worried about. What we're worried about are the keg parties, the big parties, loud music, all those types of things. So, but we have other rules. We have, no bonfires or something to that effect. Do we have bonfires in the parks? No. We get occasionally asked and said, no, park rule says you can't have them. They abide by it. So we don't have to go out and enforce. So that's the tough thing. And think council is going to struggle with that as well, is do we put an ordinance in place that we can enforce, or are there other ways? Some people have suggested put speed bumps out there. It's like, well, we're not going to put speed bumps because that now becomes a safety hazard, a tripping hazard. And there are a lot of people, we've got, we've got parents that will take their kids and, with the training wheels or their big wheel or their tricycle, and they go on the paths in the park system. Okay? That's not what we're trying to correct. But up at Ada Hayden, even one council member said, like, well, I don't think it's the speedsters that are a problem. They're not the ones that are going up to Ada Hayden. And I said, no, they are. I've seen them. Staff has seen them. Other people have seen them, where they're using it as a 3-mile loop where they can go as fast as they can, and they use it as a training ground. We've had it at the cemetery, where Joe has been out there. Joe has had to talk to people like, hey, this is not what this is for. It's not so you can come and just race around, here on your bicycle. So it's not limited to just one location. So long answer, but those are things that are going to be a struggle. Sure.
My only feedback on this now, since I won't be able to give it later, I have an e-bike. I have a class 1 e-bike. I think an outright ban on e-bikes or e-scooters in the park system would be pretty short-sighted. For the most part, why I like it is it makes me not completely exhausted if I'm biking across town or whatever. It helps a lot with hills. And I guess, I'm mindful when I encounter other traffic on shared use paths. As with all of these things, I think education to community members is super important. I was down on Lincoln Way in Campus Town the other day, and I had a person on an e-scooter zip past me going very fast, and you're not even supposed to be riding your scooter. And in campus proper, when they restricted bicycling on the sidewalks, they made the roadway, they removed parking from the roadway on whatever, Osborne or whatever. Welch in Campus Town, but Osborne on campus. They removed the street parking there during the day. So it's just buses, pretty much just buses, and then any sort of utility vehicle. So And that, you know, I ride that corridor all the time because that's where I work. And that to me feels safe. You know, it doesn't feel safe to ride any sort of non vehicle device down Lincoln Way, you know, because there's no bike lane. And this is, you know, going way back to my Ames Bicycle Coalition days. These are things that we talked about, and having like your crosstown route that was safe. You know, we're still working on those pieces. I have yelled at Steve Shanker every year about it, so he tells me he's working on it. So, so someone else has to pick up that charge. But anyway, I think an outright ban is short-sighted. I think places where it's a concern, you need either education or infrastructure, separated infrastructure, where people on bicycles or e-bikes or whatever are not directly interacting with pedestrian traffic. And that's about all. So I think more infrastructure, wider paths is going to lessen the headaches, and then community education and places where there are pinch points.
Hey, Sarah, this is a question for you since you own one of them. Because my neighbor just bought a bike and he has the next one up that he can go like almost 40 miles an hour, which is scary. But it's close. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an e-bike. But for yours, have you ever tried to take it over 20 miles an hour? Because
Yeah.
we fought this on campus that some of them are classified up to 20, but
I
they
mean-
can still, you see them zipping down.
I can
No,
bomb
it's-
down Highland at 28 miles an hour. I cannot pedal. If I'm pedaling, I you can kind of feel it limit you.
Hmm.
It will. If you're pedaling, you cannot pedal it over 20 miles an hour. If you're coasting down a giant hill, you can go as fast as you can go down a hill. But that, I mean, I probably go 25, 28 miles an hour down Highland on my non-e-bike too. But then I go 4 miles an hour up Highland, you know, whereas I can go up at, you know, 8 or 10 miles an hour on my e-bike, which
Because I've seen them on school zones, you know, where we have
Mhm.
the speed limits, and they're, you know, we're going 25, 26 miles an hour, and they're right there with us.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, like, I mean, my e-bike is pretty nice. I mean, there are lots of very random e-bike manufacturers out there, and whether or not they are following the rules in terms of like when it is speed limited. You know, I have like Bosch is a very common manufacturer of pedal assist motors. I have a Bosch motor on mine. Like they know what they're doing, but there's lots of random manufacturers out there that who knows what the cap is on those. So yeah.
Okay.
So
I think, you know, one of the things that you mentioned, Sarah, I think and this was a conversation I had with the individual this morning, is, you know, with a full ban, you know, of e-bikes, that for some people, the e-bike does get them out to enjoy our parks, because sometimes, you know, they might not be able to pedal a bike on their own, you know, for whatever reason. And the e-bike with pedal assist and so on does help them still enjoy bike riding, but something that they might not be able to do, you know, without it. So that was something else that individual, you know, mentioned, you know, this morning. So
yeah, I mean, to that point, like, no, I've been a bicyclist my entire life. My dad owned a bicycle shop for 35 years. But I think I'm the only. So I was in a pretty bad car accident in 2018. Keith and Joshua remember I came to the commission on my scooter for a couple months, my knee scooter. But you know, an experience like that really helps you understand where accessibility in the community is super important. Even though you're only temporarily disabled, it's still, you're like, you have to go places. And then I just from my personal experience, I had a ton of like back and hip pain after that car accident for years. And it was actually very difficult for me to ride my regular bicycle long distances, which I have done my whole life, like, and all of a sudden I couldn't do a 10 miles on the High Trestle Trail without a ton of back pain. And so, I mean, to the point of the e-bike, like the e-bike let me bike in a way that like wasn't as aggressive to my body. And it kind of helped me retrain in a way that was a little bit more gentle. And now I don't have that pain when I bike. But it took, it was very difficult for me to ride a regular bike for a couple of years, which was really a bummer to me as a lifelong cyclist. So yeah. So to Keith's point, I think e-bikes, I've had this argument with lots of people. People think they're cheating. People think they're, whatever, they go too fast. And I think like a lot of technology, they're new. Like a lot of new technologies, people will abuse them and ride them places where they should not be ridden, or ride them faster in places where they should be more mindful of their speed. And that's where, I talk about educating the community about just general trail safety, sharing the trails, and roadway users as well. So, yeah, so I'm 1,000% against an outright ban. I think overall they are a net benefit, but they're new, and we just need to make sure that we are educating the community about when to use them, how to use them appropriately.
So Keith, when we start talking about some of the things will be coming up, like with the High Trestle Trail, they talk about what a bicycle is, and it is an e-bike less than 20 miles an hour. But can we suggest that we get rid of, because bicycles are a little easier to see, whereas I know on campus I about kill a scooter person or a electric longboarder every day, especially because I have access to some roads that, like Sarah says, we're not supposed to be driving on. So when we're seeing that on some of our parks, you can't see some of these people that are on these electric assist longboards, and they go fast.
They do.
And can we split those two things rather than trying to glob them all in together? Because I know you had a slide that kind of talked about all the micromobilities, but
yeah, the answer is yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, so the micromobility or the personal transportation device, whatever term we use, is kind of a broad category, but we can break this down, slice it and dice it however we think is most important, because again, we have had people, Joshua and I both have had people come to us and say, we don't walk Ada Hayden anymore because we don't feel it's safe.
yeah.
And there are people, for, again, whatever reason, their age, their disability, rehab, whatever, they just aren't maybe as nimble as they once were. And they go out there and they enjoy it and they like walking. But they can't just dodge a bicycle. And it's not just e-bikes, with it. Because I tell you, if I'm just going to use Tam, if Tam is out on a thing, whether she gets hit by somebody going 20 miles an hour on a regular bicycle or on an e-bike, it's gonna do some damage. She's gonna come up being hurt, and so it's so to answer your question, yes, we can look at any of these situations and we can break it out, we can lump them together. We can do whatever we think. Again, I think the important thing is when we look at it is what's the issue, and what's the problem. I think we have to look at safety, and then how do we make sure that it's safe, and what things do we put in place so people, when they're in the park system, how are they safe? And I know we've talked about other things too. It's not just micromobility. It's not bicycles. We can morph into item 8 a little bit here too with rules. We talked about safety of restrooms and being in the parks and people that are unhoused and a lot of things that we've already, talked about. And we're continuing to look at that, and we'll get, some additional feedback, next week from the public. So it's all of it really is around safety, whether it's employees, whether it's park users, whether it's visitors to this community. How do we make sure that they're safe when they're in the park system? I think that's what our goal has to be.
Okay.
You kind of came into the slate.
Any
Couldn't
other
agree more.
any other feedback for Keith on
So
this? Or-
how fast have you clocked
Yeah.
somebody on an e-bike?
Well, and you mentioned the High Trestle Trail is, enforcing that on trails is impossible
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
categorizing all these different things is nearly impossible. When you look at like kilowatt hours and you look at size and capacity and are there pedals, are there no pedals? Who knows?
Yeah.
And the answer is Keith's exactly right, is we need to prioritize safety.
Yep.
And when you have something that's going 30 miles an hour right next to somebody that's walking, well, that's not safe.
Yeah, and we have, we saw it this morning. Joshua and I were up at Ada Hayden walking the path with consultants just for the Ada Hayden Trail Project, and and there are people, they got their earbuds in, and even we educate. When I'm riding out there, it's like, hey, passing on your left. Sometimes they don't even turn because they got the earbuds in and they can't even hear you. So there's a lot of different issues, but so
Well, it's not like they had the Series 1 be pink motors and the Series 2 be, green motors. So you could tell that, because my neighbor has a Trek and it's a high dollar one and it flies.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's one of the next level up.
well, and one of the things we haven't even talked about, and I don't know if you've seen them, Nathan, Joshua and I, we were driving around looking at some things one day, and I was like, that's not an e-bike. That's a motor.
Mhm.
That's an actual motor on the bicycle.
Oh yeah.
That's more like a motorcycle
Yes.
than it is anything else. And I don't know if you've seen those.
I've seen them modified.
They're all
They
over
made 'em
campus.
themselves.
Yeah, a lot of them are homemade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's fine, but it's not. I mean, it either needs to be, and so something like that, because
And those are already banned on trails, right? Motorized vehicles
Yeah.
cannot go on trails.
but if you do have a dirt bike or whatever, it has to have turn signals for it to be, on the roadway, and so you have this weird gray area. But those people, because they look like bicycles, they will illegally ride on the trails, which is not safe for anyone.
Oh,
So
we kick them
yeah.
off all the time.
yeah, yeah.
The mini bike crazies.
So maybe you want to give
Okay.
them an opportunity.
Okay, Tam Lawrence, if you'd like to come to the podium, if you have something.
My name is Tam Lorenz, and I live at 311 South Maple. And I live across from O'Neill Park, which is great. So thank you for everybody on the commission for whatever it is you do to make those wonderful places available to us. And I'm really glad I came to this meeting because I'm very much enjoying your discussion. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, oh, I didn't put that in my remarks. But we'll see. We'll see how I tried to make it short. I may need to expand it a little bit. But I came here today to address two concerns I have about Brookside Park. And my presence in Brookside Park has decreased in recent years, not because of age or inability. Yes, I know I'm a little old lady. Okay, I know that. But because it's become more of a stressor than a pleasure to actually be there. And there's two sources of this. Now I'm going to go a little off topic at first about the micromobility because I have this opportunity to talk to you. And I won't be here next week, so I would come and give public comment at the normal time, but I'm just not going to be available. The first, I've got two stressors. One, you may be able to do something about through recommendations. The other through direct rulemaking. The first is people who do not leash their dogs in the park and let them run loose. And the other one is cyclists who dominate shared use paths by speeding. First of all, dogs. I love dogs. I have had dogs continuously for almost 60 years. But confrontations between unleashed dogs and pedestrians in Brookside, whether they're on the path or not, can happen just like that. And in my written comments to the commission, I sent them to Keith. Maybe they'll come to you. I'm not sure. I mistakenly thought that the exception to leash dogs in park for training purposes was a park rule, but since then I've found that it is actually a provision in the municipal code, and so presumably only a city council could make any changes there. But just FYI, under the current provisions, owners can claim to be training their dog if there is a distance between themselves and the dog of fewer than 90 feet. That's 90, not 19. And however, I heard today that I think you're able to make recommendations to the council for code changes. So I would urge you to, when I wrote it, I said to just eliminate it. I've decided that's an unreasonable request. So I would ask that you recommend a reduction of the distance between trainer and dog to no more than about 12 feet. That's about the length of a really long leash. And if you're in the park training for as a service dog or any kind of dog that is not a hunting dog, 12 feet is fine to protect you, to help children, etc.
Just to ask you one question, Tam.
Yes.
Because I share your concern, and I've also gotten concerns from other community members about this. Do you think, with your modification of there could be an exception, but reduce the distance, do you think requiring your dog to be leashed when you're on a shared use trail or sidewalk should be an important consideration? And then, the dog could be off leash, if you're in a field or somewhere that is far from pedestrian traffic. Just asking.
Well, first of all, when I made my first unreasonable recommendation of doing away with it, I wasn't really thinking about how, there are a lot of people within the community that do the wonderful good deed of training dogs to be service dogs. And so Brookside Park or other parks might be a really good way to have your dog loose walking on a shared use path and, acclimatizing them to bikes, e-bikes, people with strollers, etc. My very unfortunate experience with loose dogs comes in the open areas of Brookside.
Okay.
And I won't tell you the list of horror stories, but they're out there. And so that's why I came up with 12, but just a suggestion. Okay, moving on. My second source of stress when I go to Brookside during the past few years is cyclists who dominate the shared use path by speeding. I am not anti-bike. I used to ride my old Italian Marella all over Ames for many years, and I've ridden with Team Skunk on RAGBRAI 5 times. I like bikes, but I will tell you, when Keith was giving the example of if I'm walking down the path and I get hit by a bike going 20 miles an hour, that could hurt me. I'm here to tell you that if you're on that bike and you stop suddenly at 20 miles an hour, you could end up in the hospital for 12 days like I did. However, walking on the north-south paths through Brookside can be very stressful whether I'm with a dog or without a dog. And cyclists have come up behind me so many times. And only once in the last 5 years has anyone doing that announced their presence with behind you, on your right, on your left, which is just common etiquette. And it's hard to hear a rear approach. And again, not because I'm a little old lady, but because the Doppler effect just makes it harder to hear rapidly approaching moving objects. You just can't hear them unless you have a really, really bad bike that is so rusty that it's clanking. So when I walk my dog in Brookside Park, I usually go off path just to avoid the cyclists. But this is certainly not a solution for everyone, or even for me, depending on the weather. And there are many park users who just simply are not able to go off path. Age, disability, weather, strollers, multiple children in tow, you name it. So if the commission is going to expand the use of, expand park rules to cover battery-powered mobility devices, or whatever you want to call them, then I ask you to please set a speed limit for bikes and other transport devices for no more than 5 to 10 miles an hour. Number 2, require brakes. Keith was referring to some comments that Ron Ritz, who owns Skunk River Cycles, made a couple weeks ago at City Council. And he not only said something to the effect of how fast can I go, but how fast should you go? The other side of that is how fast can I go and how fast can I stop? So that's a very important thing to consider when you're considering the speed limit within parks. I realize the rest of the city, you're competing with cars, which have a lot more protection, but in the parks, bikes and these mobility devices are competing with pedestrians. You could add some effective signage along the paths that just say slow down to remind people. If it's within your budget, which it might not be, just widen the paths, make divisions in Brookside. And one thing that you were talking about is you can make all the rules you want, but until people know what the rules are and why the rules are, people are just going to keep doing what they're doing. So if you could take on developing and disseminating an education program about the importance of path etiquette for pedestrians who have wandering dogs, cyclists, and for people who are using other mobility devices. I realize that this is a tall order, but I certainly hope that you're able to take some of these steps to make the park safer for everybody who's trying to use them. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Pam.
Thank you.
Do you want any other feedback from us on code review or?
Yeah. If there's anything else. So like I already mentioned, we've got the meeting next week, Wednesday, for public input, 6 o'clock here in the council chambers to get feedback from the public on park rules and ordinances. So yeah, if there's anything else that you have.
My main one that I brought up a couple months ago was about foraging.
And we have been looking at
Okay.
that. Yep.
So that's still my issue, but I agree with much of what Tam brought. I share many of her concerns, both as a pedestrian and a cyclist. And at Ada Hayden, we are widening the path. That's obviously going to ease some of these concerns. So, since COVID, and Keith knows it and Joshua knows it, it's just so many more people are getting outside, which is great. But for a long time park users, it's like, okay. It's a lot more people sharing the space. And so understanding the etiquette is important. Any other code review items for Keith? Okay. Next item on the agenda is an update regarding Ada Hayden boat rentals.
Yeah, and with this one, just wanted to make the commission aware and any users, residents who have used this in the past. So Jack's Outdoor Gear, for the last 20 years have rented canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards at Ada Hayden on Saturdays and Sundays, Memorial Day to Labor Day. And and they have notified us that this year that they cannot find staff, to do that. So they will not be doing that this year. They still will rent boats out of their store, and then people can go there, rent them, pick them up, and go to any body of water if they want to continue to use them. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that, and with it, want to thank Jax. It has been a wonderful relationship over those 20 years. They had the capital, they had the equipment, they were staffing it. It was really providing a service, to our residents. People used it. One thing, that we have had some conversations with companies that do rentals, canoe, kayak rentals. It's kind of a cage that you put out there. You can put your credit card in, take the stuff. They have one over at Hickory Grove. Story County Conservation uses it. From what I've heard, that has worked well. But there is a capital outlay, which we don't have in the budget right now. So it may be one of those things that what we can do if depending on what commission says, we could look at this maybe for not for the summer of 2025, but maybe for the summer of 26. And really with it is Jax did it from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day. If we were to do something like this, it obviously expands the rental opportunity, because we could have them in there as early as May 1st, April 15th, whatever, and go to September, October, maybe even November. But they're, so you get the boat, paddles. I think there's life jackets, as part of it. So just wanted to thank Jax for what they've done for the last 20 years, but also make you aware of it and see if you have any direction for staff, on this.
In the interest of continuing this partnership, would it be possible for the city to purchase the equipment that would that allow the checkout, and then Jax would continue to supply and maintain the watercraft and life vests and stuff, or would it? Yeah,
I think with that, I think what we would be doing is just basically doing the same thing that Jax already does.
Yeah.
Because somebody can go to Jax and rent a canoe or a kayak, and then take it to somewhere else. If we were going to do something and purchase equipment, one, we would need the capital. Two, there'd have to be some staffing. We'd have the storage. So there's a number of different things. So with this rental situation that I mentioned, with that one is the company that you get the stuff, but they actually maintain it.
interesting.
If a paddle is broke, I don't know how they know it, but if a paddle is broke, they get a new paddle, in that specific cage. And if somebody goes in, and then you got to swipe your card, to get the stuff out. And then if you swipe it again, when you put the stuff back, but if you had it for 6 hours, you get charged for 6 hours. So I think that the staffing, and you've heard it from us before, lifeguards, other programs, activities that sometimes we have trouble staffing. And is this one more thing that we want to take on? Right now, I would say probably not, with it. That's why, just like we do with some of these partnerships, like we talked about before, those are good things. And this is almost like a partnership with an outside entity that has the equipment. They put it in these cages, and then they monitor it. So I think that would be the way that we would, if we were going to go any direction, we'd go that way. Now Jax might come back next year and say, hey, we've tried some different things and we're able to find somebody. We'd love to do it again. I don't know if they'll do that, but. Any other comments?
All right. Next item on the agenda is Parks and Recreation Commission for 2025-2026.
How about if we go out of order? Can we do project updates first?
Oh, okay.
And then maybe monthly report, and then we'll come back to 11,
Next
Or to
item on the
10.
agenda is project updates.
if you guys are okay with that.
It's fine.
All right. So with project updates, so with the Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center, I would say things are going along, really well. The walls are up, the roof, the steel is up, the roofs are almost complete for the natatorium. Natatorium is complete, that roof. The rest of the roof is just about finished. They have in the wellness pool, the electrical conduit is up, the ductwork is up, and actually, if they haven't started digging this week for the pool basin, they'll start digging next week. We're making plans ready for the non-natatorium areas, more so in the mechanical and the electrical spaces, putting slab on grade, down here in the next, week or so. So things are moving along really well. There's been some, little change order here and there, but nothing, too crazy to keep things moving along. So probably the biggest thing, with it, we just provided on Tuesday night an update to City Council. We do that at the second meeting of the month, and the big thing there was the substantial completion date has moved to January 20th of 2026. So with that, we were hoping that maybe we'd be able to open the facility in January. Substantial completion now is January, so we're probably looking at not opening until March of 2026. So we will give council. We'll have an in-person update in April, and Story Construction and RDG, the architect, they'll provide more of a rationale and a reasoning, for that move of substantial completion. So I think those are the highlights. Anything to add, Joshua? No? The Stephen L. Shanker Plaza. So just this past week, last week, they did everything ice and train, which is some of the material or the manufacturers of some of the equipment for the chiller aspect to make ice. They did start up the chiller, and on Sunday into Monday, they did actually freeze some ice. There are some concerns, with it. They had the refrigerant was set at 10 degrees, which is very cold. So in some spaces, there was a lot of cracking of the ice, and with it. So when we see cracking of ice, it's more brittle. And this is one of the concerns that we had with what we heard from Terracon with the inconsistency with the depth of concrete over the pipes. We were concerned about, do you get brittle ice in some places, soft ice in others, or if you get it really good ice in one area, is it too soft in others? So they're going to do some additional temperature readings, of the ice surface and things. The chiller itself seems to be working, but this still doesn't address the surface of the ice skating ribbon, which is a big concern. So it doesn't look like we will be able to get the experts and everybody together probably until with people's schedules, probably not until late April. So things will be on hold. We have asked Henkel Construction to provide an update. We had a long list of punch list items for the building. We asked where are we at with those. Also, we asked them to provide a timeline of when is everything else, going to get done. When is the seed going to go down? When is the rest of the landscaping? When are all those other items be done? So right now, we will not open, I think actually this week or next week, maybe next week. Next week, Fountain Tech, is that right?
Yeah,
Fountain?
they're going to come and start doing
Yeah,
setup.
so Fountain Tech will start coming and testing and doing the final touches on the spray pad. So we'll do that, but council will at some point, Macon will talk to commission as well, but what do we do with the rest of the plaza if the ice ribbon isn't done? Do we open it? Don't we open it? And we don't have all the information we need yet to make that decision. So, but that's kind of where we're at with the plaza. All right.
Keith, what is the warranty on the plant materials over there? Do we have a warranty at all?
Yeah, it's 1 year.
1 year?
Yeah. All right. Then the agility course at Carr Park, if you've been by there, dirt is being moved and they're starting to get that ready to get equipment and everything put in. What is the completion date scheduled?
By the end of May. More likely be middle to end of May.
Oh, for that one?
Well, it's
I thought it was a little later, but maybe not.
well, we have it done it's supposed to be done by September, but more likely it'll get done before that because the contractor's got some school district stuff they need to get done. So their goal is to get it done along with the mini pitch before the schools gets out.
Yeah. And that's with the mini pitch. I didn't mention it earlier when we talked about the naming, but with the mini pitch, they've started moving dirt up there. And that one for sure, they're looking at being done May 31st. But you're right, both projects I think
Around the
are
same
going
time.
to be done. So get ready for some ribbon cuttings.
The mini pitch might be done sooner because there's going to be a little bit of
Yeah.
Caliber's going to come and do their work, and then Landscape Structure is going to come and put the equipment in and the surfacing. So there might be a little bit of a transition there, but
Start those.
should be done here sooner than later. So.
Yeah.
I had a question from a community member about the mini pitch. Will there be reservations
Yes.
for it? Okay.
Yeah, we will do rentals,
Okay.
with it. So we don't have that ready to go,
Sure.
but we'll have it ready to go before it opens.
He was asking me what it was, and I said what it was, and he's like, "That sounds really cool." And then he asked if there would be reservations for it, or if it would be first come first serve, and I said I didn't know. So
Yeah. Okay. So Daily Park Splash Pad with that one. So we're moving along. We're hoping to get the RFP out this week for equipment and installation. And we're doing this in a couple of different things. So components. So request for proposal will go out again for all the equipment and the installation of it. And then what our goal is on March 22nd or April 22nd is to bring before council the plans and specifications for the rest of the project. And so what we'll do is we'll be able to get the RFP, we'll have that back. We'll get the bids or submittals for the rest of the project, and we'll know what that project will cost. So that's moving ahead. We're looking good there. The park maintenance facility expansion project, we're adding some cold storage, and we're doing some renovations to the park shop. So we are also looking to bring those plans and specs to council on April 22nd. So those two projects are, you're thinking, Keith said they're tied together. So they're tied together. You may wonder why. So what it is the park maintenance facility. The cost opinion is more than what we have funding for. The latest cost opinion for Daly Park Splash Pad is less than what we have funding for. So right now, it looks like between the two projects, the funding savings that we have for the splash pad will cover the funding needed for the park facility maintenance. So that's why we're trying to get those out at the same time. So we can see what those the bids come in at, and then we can take it to council at the same time and say, all right, here's what we want to do. So, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. And then Parks and Recreation Administration office renovation. We've done some renovation work, some painting. We had just last week and this week we renovated the restrooms. People are coming in that have seen what our office looked like in the past and what it looks like now, and they're like, this is a big improvement. That's what we're hearing. And then the last thing that we're waiting on is furniture. We've ordered new furniture, some cabinets, countertops, some tables for the conference room, and so on. So those may not get here till late May or June. But that's another project that we've been working on, well, for almost 8 months. Yeah, with it, but trying to coordinate everything. Last week was when Joshua was gone, having fun, and I'm trying to get the demo and drywallers and flooring and plumbers and electricians and everything in there and stuff. So it took longer than what we needed. Yeah, my fault. But those are, but it's a huge improvement over where we were at. It needed some upgrades and things. So any questions about any of those projects? No. And what we'll do is maybe for April, maybe what we can do is, we shared you with that whole list of projects that we had a while back, the 45 of them or 50 or whatever it was. We have been whittling away, and that list is getting shorter and shorter. So we'll give you an update on that in April. So, and that's a team effort. Joshua, Courtney, and all of the rest of our staff, to keep moving forward and getting those things accomplished. So, all right. Monthly report.
Monthly report.
Got anything, Joshua?
Yeah, couple really, really cool things. Our staff, along with volunteers and also the Conservation Corps of Iowa and Minnesota, did a ton of woody vegetation removal at Ada Hayden Heritage Park. So if you haven't been out there recently, take the time to go out there and walk around the lake. It looks totally different than it did like last fall, which is really exciting. It's just we just need to continue to stay on top of it. There's a lot of work out there that needs to get done on an annual basis. So we just got to continue to keep pushing at it and plugging away, but it looks really, really nice out there. And then, Keith and I talked with consultants this morning about the path replacement project. That's going to be another excellent project that's going to take place out there. So some neat things out there. Also, a group of Ames anglers and also some staff from the Iowa DNR, along with our staff and some other volunteers, installed fish habitat in the lake yesterday out on the North Lake, just to help increase some of the fishery out there, because obviously the steep sides and there's not a ton of habitat out there for fish to grow and get larger and create the larger game fish out there. So the Ames Angler, this is the second year the Ames Anglers have done that, and just really want to give thanks to them for their time and efforts in doing that, helping us. So.
And maybe I missed it, but with the vegetation, with the Conservation Corps, it was actually funded by the Friends of Ada Hayden.
Nice.
Yeah.
So thank you to the
Yeah.
Friends group.
Yep, thank you.
And they continue to be, again, another great partner for us. So,
I saw Homewood was opening back up
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Just in time for the weather to get cold again.
Yeah.
So, okay, now new
back
members.
to 10.
Yeah.
So we did have, you'd say, Deborah and Jeff were both up for reappointment to the council or to the commission for next year, and they have been reappointed to 3-year terms. And then also Hannah Sappenfield was appointed and approved by council for the 1-year term. So she will be here at our meeting in April. So what we'd like to do right now, and Sarah, this is your last meeting. So what we want to do is we can put this one down and then pull up the other.
Gotcha.
I sent Keith.
So 8 years is down at the bottom.
8 years.
The one on the right, I think.
Did you agree to continue to do ribbon cuttings for us like a couple
Oh, that'd be
meetings ago?
great.
Yeah.
I
Nathan's
think
gonna
it's
have to
on tape.
negotiate that with me. So.
So just with this, so 8 years on the commission, and Sarah, you have spent a number of years as the chair of the commission. We can't thank you enough, for your service. And I will say what the mayor said, today at lunch, that whenever we had a ribbon cutting, you have always been a proponent and shared to anybody that would listen about the importance of serving on a commission or a board and give back to the community and so on. And really you're living what you preach.
Thank you.
So we really appreciate everything. So we just have a few pictures of your time of
This-
some of the projects.
This is
that,
my niece under the arch, and she says that the Miracle Park is the coolest park ever of all time. She does not care that I help plan it. I would have told her this, and she doesn't care. So anyway,
Yeah,
she likes the park. So
yeah. We got
that's the pool groundbreaking indoor aquatic
Mhm.
center, the accessible boat launch, pickleball courts last
This
spring.
might be, you
My
might be giving
same
your
sweater.
spiel right
Yeah,
here.
my same sweater.
Yeah. You did that on purpose, didn't you? You got a black shirt on
That's
underneath
my-
it too.
yeah, that's my, Homewood Clubhouse. This was, I think, Miracle Park
Yeah.
groundbreaking.
Yeah.
This was one of the parks tours when we went, and I think the boys, there was a Eagle Scout who built the new
Correct.
ones for us.
Yep. Down at Car Park.
Yep, at Car Park. This was the Sunset Ridge
Yep.
ribbon cutting.
Yeah.
That was a hot day.
Yeah.
The 64 Center. Another pool groundbreaking. This again from the beginning of the Miracle Park, Harrison Barnes donating a giant check to the park.
Yep. Harrison and Brittany.
This was the Emma McCarthy Lee bridge, which my husband bugged me about every single month for the first 4 years I was on Parks Commission, and I would ask about it. So that was a big day. So
We were thinking about taking this out and putting that rope.
that, yeah.
that somebody
I don't.
had
Did you put that?
back.
Putting that other bridge back.
Did you put that picture in the slideshow of you and Joshua standing there after the bridge went out? Because you're in galoshes. I don't know if you put
I
that
don't,
one
I
in
don't
there.
think we didn't put that one in there.
No, that was
Too much of a fashion
Oh.
statement. We don't want everybody. We don't want everybody walking around with black, knee boots on
Yeah.
from now on.
This was the North River Valley Park.
The
Yeah,
Lowhead Dam
the Lowhead Dam removal. Yeah,
project.
yay! There's me.
And,
So
and Sarah. So as you can see, and these little slideshows like this, you've got to be proud of all the things, just looking at these slides of everything that's been accomplished, during your time. And obviously, you don't do it alone. There's a lot of other commissioners that are sitting at this dais and other people that are no longer on the commission. So with that, we would like to give you a little token of our appreciation for your service. So thank you so much for everything, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, it's just been so rewarding to see all that we have accomplished. And the city staff here is so remarkable and cares so deeply about this community. And just interacting with everyone on boards and commissions at the luncheon today, I was just reminded again, everybody who serves on a board or commission gets really excited about their little corner of, city happenings. And and it's just been such a treat. I have really loved having kind of that insider perspective on things. And hopefully if you guys tour the aquatic center at the parks tour, still get invited. I don't know. So parks tour, honestly, one of my favorite days of the year for the last 8 years. And it at least once has fallen on my birthday. So it's always right around my birthday. So it's, and your birthday too. Yeah. Or Jeremy's birthday. Somebody else's birthday was very close. I don't remember who it was. Okay. No. And anyway, me and Jeremy and I had birthdays back to back. And, so one of us was often on our birthday on the park tour. So that was always just a great day. Even if Keith, and he didn't include the pictures, but when we went down, I think that was the 2018. So it was like my second year. And I had just started walking again, weight bearing after breaking my ankle in the car crash. And we were descending these steep and wet stairs into the Munwoods after that big rain that washed the bridge out, and it was an adventure. So there's been many park tour adventures. So thank you all for a great experience, and it's been so rewarding. So thank you.
Our goal to provide you with many stories for the campfire.
So yes. So
Good. Thank you.
thank you. Really great. Right.
Are you going to join something else?
People keep asking me that. I don't know. This is the best commission, so
No.
I'm not gonna
Compete.
Yeah, like why would I join the library board? Just kidding. You guys do amazing work. Everyone does amazing work. Every commission is special, so we're just the most special.
That from the video.
And congrats to all of the new commission members who will be starting next month. I hope you have a great experience, whether you serve for a year or for many years. Yeah. So, any other comments?
I do.
Yeah.
I've been with you a long time, and I've really appreciated your service on this board. I know a lot of times we haven't seen eye to eye on things, but I've always appreciated your passion. I mean, the ribbon cuttings are just the tip of the iceberg for us. And it's been really nice to be able to sit out there and listen to you, be the advocate for this board and for our city and for our parks. What you said about Richard a few weeks ago on his passing sent chills up my spine, because that was very important to all of us. We've been here with him for years. I know when I started on the board, very different group. Sarah was kind of the steady part of the ocean. We had a lot going on, not a whole lot of money. We'd go meet over in the conference room at the ratty old administration offices, and now it should be a palace, I guess, and you're going to miss it. And it always seemed to me, though, that you always were really an advocate for this city and for this Parks Commission and for the parks. So I appreciate that. I just love the fact that you're always asking about every month, what about the bridge? Do we have FEMA money? That was the funnest part of the whole time. We had about a year going through that where Josh would, I think, walk in and say, no, we don't have our FEMA money yet, or they didn't approve the bridge. But that was always cool to hear you, be the advocate and care for this place. So we still want you back for ribbon cuttings.
Yeah.
We can take you on the tour as long as you come back for the ribbon cuttings. So thank you, Sarah. I surely appreciate it as a citizen of Ames.
Thank you. So, yeah, this is a special place, and I'm just so thankful to live in a city where people care about their community. And this experience has been, me caring about one aspect of it for a long time, and I'm just really thankful. So thanks.
Well, we got one more
Thank
bridge
you.
going in, so we'll bring you back. And you can always go to that place, right?
There's always a bridge.
Keep us on our
There's
toes.
always another bathroom.
Oh, no more bathrooms. Thank you.
No, thanks. Awesome. Any other comments? I almost didn't cry. All right. If there's no other comments, I take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Very good. You're hoping to make it without doing it.